Hello everyone, I'm Anthony Manning, Dean for Global and Lifelong Learning at the University of Kent, and I'm joined today by e.l.marku, who's Internationalisation Officer also at Kent. This session is part of the Innovations in Internationalisation at Home Conference 2022, and what we're talking to you about today is entitled From Campus to Sector, an Avenue for Enhancing Local Internationalisation at Home and Collaborating at Sector Level. And really what we're hoping to do is show you our journey from developing internationalisation at home, which is a continuing journey, of course, and how we've channeled that into sector level activity, which ultimately we'd like to get you involved with too. Now it's over to Emma.
Thanks, Anthony. And hello to those of you who are joining us for the IaH Conference 2022. So I'm Emma, as Anthony said. I work with him at the University of Kent as Internationalisation Officer. And today's presentation, we hope to give you a bit of background to the work that we have been doing at the institution, and then how we have started the University's UK Internationalisation at Home Working Group, which is to further enhance the work that is already being done by the Outward Student Mobility Network. We will outline some of the working group's aims and objectives. We hope to then give you an update on some of the project developments that the working group has been doing, and then we hope to end on some further next steps that we would like to maybe discuss with you during our live conference on the 15th of July.
Thanks, Emma. So as Emma said, now we're going to talk a little bit about the background to our project before we then move into more details on what we're doing with UUKi. So at Kent, for a number of years, we've been trying to mobilise a connected and joined up form of internationalisation at home with various initiatives intended to support curriculum internationalisation. And what we've been trying to use as inspiration for this is really this definition you can see on your screen linked to the work of Betty Leask, which underlines a number of ways in which the curriculum can be meaningfully internationalised. So you can see there's content, learning outcomes, assessment tasks, teaching methods and support services, which we use as a really useful springboard to collaborate in the initiatives that we devise and promote with colleagues across the university, to say that there are multiple ways in which people can embed curriculum internationalisation within their work. And this really works well with the concept that different disciplines need different forms of activity, and also many different professionals and academics work at different paces and have different avenues and opportunities for embedding within their curriculum, sometimes based on workload, sometimes based on strict guidelines associated with external accreditation or other effective factors. So as Rome wasn't built in a day, we also try and promote the idea that people can engage with curriculum internationalisation on an incremental basis. So within the definition of curriculum internationalisation that you can see here, we can see the formal curriculum, the informal curriculum and the hidden curriculum. And really we're looking at trying to find avenues to promote internationalisation at home and curriculum internationalisation with each of those different avenues. So looking at embedding features within programs and modules, also looking at co-curricular activity, and also trying to encourage inclusivity across the institution in things that might be considered to be the hidden curriculum. And the overarching virtue that we promote associated with this activity is that really, just as internationalisation is diverse and multi-layered, so should the curriculum be and its internationalisation. So there are many different ways to approach it, many ways in, and that's a useful mechanism to make sure that people aren't overfaced and can see a longer term future in ways of modifying what they're doing to enhance it and make it more applicable to people who will be working or studying or living in different cultures beyond the UK after they've completed their studies with us. So on this slide, we're showing just some of the projects that we're involved with, which are mechanisms to internationalise the curriculum and embed opportunities for internationalisation at home across the university. So we're working centrally in terms of events for people irrespective of their discipline, but also working with individual colleagues in different disciplinary areas to try and encourage the development of features of curriculum internationalisation to reflect the needs of students in different disciplines. So some of the things we've been involved with include Global Learning Online, which is our own version of COIL projects. We also run an annual event called World Fest, which celebrates internationalisation at home and builds community. Then we also throughout the year have opportunities for students to create their own events and gain funding for that through our World Fest bite-size initiatives. Also during the year, we have global hangout activities, which are networking activities for home and international students with an international theme, which happen at the beginning and the end of the year, but also in the course of each term, sometimes themed according to particular cultural events. And we're also moving to a process of encouraging our divisions to run global hangouts through a similar theme. And then there's our flagship activity in global citizenship and leadership, the Global Officers Leadership Development Programme, which myself and my colleagues have been leading for a number of years, which gets our students involved in co-creating events, activities, also sharing their views on how the international experience at Kent should be shaped. And in a way, that's what's also moved us into this space with Internationalisation at Home and the Internationalisation at Home conference, where we learn as much as we possibly can from the wider community by creating this event, which has recently been once every 1 or 2 years, to really allow people to see what good practice looks like in other contexts. For those of you who are interested in more information on the Gold programme, our Global Officers Leadership Development programme, you can find some of that information here, and we've also put a link in the abstract details in the brochure and on the YouTube channel. Here's the learning outcomes, which are really looking at deepening students' intercultural awareness, helping them to build cultural intelligence or CQ, looking at leadership qualities, identifying how to maximise the benefits of being in that international community that we know our campuses are, but often need unlocking, and really allowing people to bring different perspectives to the table and evaluate those, as well as enhancing the range of things that we offer in the form of internationalisation at home across the campus to our home and international students. So at Kent, we've been very keen to continue to develop and collaborate with colleagues and students across the university to make sure that we are devising initiatives for internationalisation at home and curriculum internationalisation, which really fit with different disciplines and the needs of different students. So that has also led us to think that we really need to collaborate more broadly across the sector, which has led to the introduction of the Innovations and Internationalisation at Home conference, which has been a very rich source of collaboration and good practice sharing over the last 3 or 4 years. As you can see from this slide, our sessions and our conference began in 2019, where we had our first face-to-face event in Canterbury. That was well attended with around 17 different institutions presenting their activity. Then we were somewhat challenged in terms of physical conferencing due to the pandemic, but nonetheless we used the presentations and sessions from our 2019 conference to generate the Innovations and Internationalisation at Home book, which you can see here on screen. Then last year we had our second conference, 2021, which was supported through Universities UK International, our first conference being supported through UKISA. And last year we worked with Universities UK International to support their project and report on internationalisation at home, which has led to some really interesting interviews from contributors to that report, which was part of the conference last year. So in addition to the sessions you see this year, you can see last year's sessions also on a separate playlist on the Innovations and Internationalisation at Home YouTube channel. I will also put the links to that in the brochure. So for this year's conference in 2022, we've been very excited to see even stronger support from the community. We've now got 20 sessions to view asynchronously on YouTube, and great to see also a physical face-to-face session to complement our digital conference on the 15th of July. So if you're part of this session on the 15th of July through our digital conference and you're interested in workshopping and developing your own internationalisation at home, please find the details to sign up and come and join us in London to find out how you can enhance your own work at your own institution. Now over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Anthony. And now I wish to go into a little bit more detail about the working group with UUKi and the work that we've been doing, starting with our aims and objectives. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the contribution from colleagues at these participating universities listed here that are all members of our working group. It's been wonderful to have colleagues join us from a breadth of institutions. Our first task was to undertake a survey to gather views from all members to agree on our priority aims for the working group. The results that came back can be summarised here. Sharing good practice, collaboration for a more joined up approach, seizing opportunities and tackling challenges, as well as elevating the profile of internationalisation at home. In addition to the priority aims, we also wanted to agree on what aspects of internationalisation at home we should focus on. And on the slide, you can see some of the comments that came back. such as intercultural competence, credit and non-credit bearing activities, global citizenship, COIL, collaboration between professional service departments and academics, looking at employability, focusing on underrepresented groups who may not traditionally undertake mobility periods abroad, and embedding these opportunities through internationalisation of the curriculum. Members also gave some good practice exemplars, either happening at their own universities or of projects they were being aware being done elsewhere. So we have celebration of festivals and hangouts, language culture exchange schemes, training in cultural intelligence, global citizenship and global leadership, various COIL initiatives focused on internationalised learning outcomes in modules, the linkages with sustainable development goals, and also that intersection of decolonising and internationalisation of the curriculum. Finally, we also asked about the challenges that institutions may face in realising IaH innovations. Again, you can see the comments that came back from members, such as connection with institutional strategy, funding, time and resource, the awareness and understanding of the importance of internationalisation at home. That can always be a bit of a challenge that some colleagues are not always aware, and the ones that you particularly need to have on board may not necessarily have a firm understanding of that. But in order then to be able to set measurable objectives so that you can then prove impact, which then in turn may help you gather more resource and funding to enhance some of these activities. Getting the engagement through both staff and students, but also finding that balance of participation between home and international students. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts during the conference on whether any of these sound familiar to you and what you may be doing to address these. So following the survey and looking through the results, the working group agreed its terms of reference to include acting as a forum for dialogue, contributing to the profile of internationalisation at home activity, responding to challenges across the sector, all this as outlined at the start to further enhance the work of the Outward Student Mobility Network at UUKi. And so I will now hand back to Anthony to introduce some of the group's developments to date.
Thanks, Emma. So I'll now go into a bit more detail into the Universities UK International Working Group. So one of the areas that the group has been focusing on is the creation of promotional material which seeks to raise that profile of internationalisation at home. And you can see a prototype here for an infographic which will seek to identify ways in which practitioners can find avenues to reveal, co-create, promote, review and enhance international student experience through internationalisation at home. So this infographic really seeks to identify different forms of internationalisation at home and ways in which people can start to think about measuring the activity that they're doing or critiquing it with a view to enhancing it. So we'll also be creating a handbook to go with this that gives people ideas about how to co-create and collaborate across institutions to improve and raise the profile of internationalisation at home. This also comes with a mechanism to draw in student voice. So we're hoping, as part of our ongoing working group, to bring in more student voices so that we can ensure that we channel both active staff participation and the voices of students into the work that we do, and really keep it vibrant and alive, because we know in the spirit of this conference that co-creation is the key to making sure that our internationalisation at home responds to what students actually want. Now over to you, Emma, to talk a bit more about the digital badges.
Thanks, Anthony. So we agreed to create a sub-working group with a focus of digital badges, and this form of recognition for activities is becoming increasingly used, especially now in this heightened digital environment, and so many members are wanting to explore these further. So to align with our objectives of a joined up approach and collaboration of resources, this subgroup began exploring 3 strands for this work: activity badges, skills and competency badges, and on the module level as well, looking at internationalisation of the curriculum. Each strand would then provide a framework that could be then used and adapted in the local context for a particular institution. So looking at activity badges first, these are earned through engaging with a validated activity, such as the examples listed here: study, work abroad, extracurricular language learning, virtual exchange, a COIL initiative, maybe undertaking a training course. These could be seen as quite straightforward and your standard form of recognition. A student or staff member does something and they earn a badge, and they can then share on their profile to say that they've done this. So that was all very well. However, the group wanted to explore something deeper with a focus on the skills and intercultural competencies of students and staff. So a student may engage in particular activity. Let's take study abroad as an example. Not every student that goes on a study placement will earn the same skills, knowledge and attributes that we may say that if you do this activity, this is what you will earn. Therefore, a structure or a framework is needed with performance indicators that assesses those competencies a bit further. And it's this work that we're trying to identify, looking at the skills around intercultural communication, cultural awareness, maybe global leadership, cultural empathy, for example. So finally, on the module level, we are looking at a badge or a mark that recognises best practice in curriculum internationalisation, that gives recognition for staff for their efforts, but can also allow students to identify modules that provide this opportunity for internationalised learning outcomes and exposure during their degree programme at their home university. And some of the suggested framework criteria that we may be looking at includes looking at those outcomes, subject content, assessment, the teaching methods, the support services, everything that was outlined by Anthony at the start of this presentation. So that's our 3 strands. Each one provides a framework that can then be adopted and adapted to the local institutional context, but it allows some support to colleagues working in this space where often dedicated resource may be limited or not available, and hopefully may provide some standardisation to those external to the higher education sector, people such as employers.
Thanks, Emma. So now for next steps and how we hope to continue to use the Internationalisation at Home Working Group through UUKi, really want to think again about the power of co-creation linked to the theme of this topic, and co-creation meaning co-creation with students and also with the wider sector. So if you're watching this session and you're interested in your institution being involved in that working group and you're part of UUKi, we'd love to hear from you to get your input and energy to help us continue the work to raise the profile of internationalisation at home across the sector. So what we're hoping to do is to inform the ongoing project through wider perspectives, share that good practice from staff and students. We want to make a larger and more generalisable impact and find solutions that help us elevate the investment and energy behind internationalisation at home across our sector, and really find out ways that we can support and resource initiatives so that they become sustainable and something that grow and maximise their impact over time. And also when we have the live conference, it would be great to hear from you if you have some views on this. We're interested in this question particularly, so if you come along to our session during the live event, how can co-creation across the sector help us all find new solutions for designing, delivering, recognising and evaluating internationalisation at home? Some key questions there which would be good to pick up with you if you come to our session during the live event on the 15th of July. Zooming back to this slide and what happens after the conference on the 15th of July, we'd also like to invite you to participate in our London workshop on the 9th of September, and we'll send you details of how to participate in that and the costs of participation after this event. What we're hoping to do at this event in London is workshop with you ways in which you can enhance your own local internationalisation at home, and also to get your involvement in the Universities UK Internationalisation Working Group, as we mentioned, if you're interested in that. So thank you for participating today. We hope you found it useful in terms of thinking about ways in which you can actively enhance your own innovations in internationalisation at home, and get involved also at sector level if you have time for that. Over to you, Emma.
I think it just leaves me to end on to say thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful, and we look forward to meeting you on the 15th of July. But if you do have any questions about anything we said today, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Our email addresses are there on the screen. So look forward to seeing you on the 15th.